Hello friends, hello everyone. I have seen a lot of posts asking about craft tutorials and so I came up with this craft tutorial. So you can see, and this is made with supplies what we can find around the house. It's made out of coffee and with some scrap paper what you can find around the house. So let me walk you through the materials what we need. So we need a very little bit of coffee. You can use any coffee, any of your sachets at home, and you can see it's very little, and a bit of water and some paint brushes and a Sharpie. So in case if you don't have a paintbrush, still no worries, we can just use your regular kitchen napkins, tear it apart and dip slowly, and you can swipe it down to use it as a brush. So first I'm going to go ahead and add some water in my empty portions of the palette and mix my coffee just like how you would mix paint, just like how you dilute your paint. So now you can decide what is the gradation you want in the background. So you want a darker gradation, go ahead and please add more bit of coffee into it. If you want a lighter shade, so you can just keep it very light, very liquid consistency and very less coffee. So in my actual sample piece, I have gone on the darker side. Sample piece right here, I've had a darker gradation. So I like to get it a little darker tone. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Now for this, I just grabbed any piece of paper which was lying around. In fact, you can see the background, there's some drawing on it. It's just a scrap paper lying at home. And all you need to just make sure it's slightly thicker so that it doesn't bleed through. It doesn't make your paper all soggy. Okay, so let's go ahead and just paint regular strokes from top to bottom. And like I said, those who don't have brushes, no worry, please go ahead, rotate your kitchen towel all this way and go ahead and swipe it from top to bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and mix some more, so I think I might need some more for the background. So once you get your desired consistency, go ahead and start painting. The funniest part is I love this aroma it gives. I love the smell of the coffee while painting. This is a nice way of getting coffee in without having, too much caffeine, without having to drink coffee. So we're just going to go from top to bottom, and as and when you feel it's needed, your palette is getting empty, go ahead and mix up your coffee again, and you can just put these palettes away. Go ahead and even out all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and darken it a little more darker in the edges, in the corners. So if you see how I'm just going to go ahead and darken it. Don't worry about all these rough edges. We're going to eventually smoothen it out. So for now, we just want to go ahead and darken our edges. So I'm just going to slowly blend it, go in the meeting point and blend it. I want to be able to see the difference of some darkness here and some light in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process until I am satisfied with the kind of gradation I want. So go ahead in the edges, darken it. So once you get to the bottom, you want to be painting it horizontal. So move your brush, swipe your brush right to left or left to right, just to give you that illusion of dividing the space, of giving an impression the vase is on the table. So I'm just going to go darker value here. I'm just thinking that should be enough to give the difference of the table space. Go ahead to like fill up all these. Just a bit of. Don't worry about this coffee granules. Please feel free to remove it off with a tissue paper or just wipe off with your hand. I'm going to go with another coat. I kind of can't differentiate it as of now, so I'm going to go ahead and add another coat. So make sure you make it as dry as possible when you move your brush so that your whole entire surface dries quickly. If it's too liquidy, it's going to take a long time to dry. So make sure it's nice consistency, but at the same time you have a dry brush. Satisfied the way it looks, I'm going to set it aside to dry, and while it sets to dry, I'm going to go ahead and start working with the flowers. Now with the flowers, I did the same thing. I used coffee again, but since I used a darker background, so I'm going to use a lighter gradient of a coffee. So if you have used a lighter background, make sure your flowers are dark so that they pop out and show up well. So I'm going to use the same rough sheet what I've been using at the bottom. So I'm going to cut it a little because we don't want too much of it. So now if you actually look at my actual picture, so I have a 1, 2, 3, 4 flowers, and they're all differently sized. So you can plan your flowers, but do make sure you have at least 2 big flowers. So I'm just going to go ahead and give a very, very light gradient, like barely there. See, I did a lighter version of the coffee and I just painted it on the whole surface so we can just, it's easier to draw your flowers and then cut it out rather than, you know, paint each flower individually. So if you can actually, if you see match it, it's still visible. So now for the vase, I had some red cardstock lying around my house, so which I used up. So before I go ahead and do my vase, I love to create a template so that it's easier, it gives me a much more clear measurement. So I have a kind of, again I used a rough paper what is lying around, so use like about a square, make a square and fold it into half, and I've already go ahead and make a curved line going all the way this. So you're just gonna go ahead, curved line from top to bottom, and then cut this around on the exact line. So when you flip it and open, it gives you a shape of a nice vase. So once you have the template ready, so go ahead and let's trace a template. Please feel free to pick any cardstock of your choice. It need not have to be red. Even if you don't have cardstock, you can pick up any magazine covers, because the whole goal is to work with materials what we can easily find around the house. So I'm going to go ahead and cut on my traced line. And there we have our vase. So I'm going to place it. I'm not going to place it exactly on the top, but I'm going to bring it a little lower so that you get this background of a table space. So I'm just placing it for now. And while our coffee papers dry, I'm just going to go ahead and finish up my other red flowers too, just to add that pop of color. So I'm going to go ahead and add a circle. So let me show you in a Sharpie. So go about a circle and say do about one big petal right here, and then one on the side and one on her other side. So this bit of it. You can add small lines, add about dots on the top. That's going to be our first flower. So I'm going to go ahead and cut around. Go ahead, get started with drawing the flowers. So you can just go freehand and choose. I'm gonna go about two, since we need two big flowers, so make sure two of them are really big. So I'm gonna go ahead and make 2, 3, and 4, and 5 petal flower. So if you choose, you can also make a smaller ones, something like this. So I have these already traced on my coffee sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them around right now. So go ahead. As you see, I've cut my flowers. So just to add a bit detail, to just go ahead and slightly with the coffee, very lighter gradation, just to give the differentiation of petals. So I'm just going to go trace just to give you that difference. So go ahead, wet your brush. Okay. If you think it's a little darker, go ahead and just blend it up. Kind of make it softer. And right in the center point, I'm going to use my black Sharpie and make a circle. Just fill it in. Go ahead and add a bit of brown right around, just to give you that. I'm going to repeat the same process with all my flowers. Thing together. So for the glue, you can use any of your Elmer's glue, the regular glue stick. So like I said, I don't want right on the center, just come a below. Go ahead and crease. Use the bottom part of the glue stick to crease it well. And place your flowers. I'm going to place one right on the vase and one slightly above, and get my smaller one right here, another smaller one right here, and a big red one in the background here. Add this bit here. So now, just to make it more 3D, I kind of cut it till the edge, so, and pulled it apart, pulled it up. You can also use your pencil and trim the edges just to lift it a bit. So I'm going to do it behind, this way. And once you're satisfied with the placement of where to place them, you can go ahead and start sticking them. kind of stuck up and pulling up the petals just to give you that 3D view. And for this red one right here, I'm gonna go ahead and add a line just to make it stem. Cover this in. Now you can choose any kind of background sheets depending on what's lying around in the house. I had black, so I had it done on a black. And I also added a small 2 flowers in the bottom just to give you much more. And you can also do any color, just frame it. So that finishes our coffee tutorial craft, and I hope you guys liked it, enjoyed it, and I would love to see more of creations from your end. And thank you, and do subscribe to my channel.